One of the more interesting games of the weekend will take place in Pittsburgh when the Philadelphia Eagles come to town to play the Steelers. BETDAQ currently has Pittsburgh installed as a 3.5-point favorite in this game. 43 is the total. Pittsburgh really has their backs up against the wall in this situation. They lost 2 out of the first 3 games to start the season. They did have a bye last week, a much-needed bye, because their best 2 defensive players, Troy Polamalu and James Harrison, did not play in their last game, a bad loss to the Oakland Raiders. Harrison, as a matter of fact, hasn't played yet this season. Both those guys expected to go this week. They're both listed as probable, and the Steelers defense is going to need those guys because they were shredded by Oakland in their last game. And this Philadelphia passing attack, the Eagles come into this game ranked 5th in the league in total offense. They can do some things. Michael Vick, those speedy receivers, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, Brent Selleck, the tight end, having another good year. LaShawn McCoy, running back LaShawn McCoy, had a huge game in their last game against the Giants. So Philadelphia has a multi-dimensional offense. They can really attack you. And Pittsburgh, if they look anything like they did against the Raiders in their last game, they're in big, big trouble. However, I don't expect the Steelers to look like that. Again, getting their best 2 players back, and don't underestimate Mike Tomlin, who is a great head coach, first of all, but a guy who comes from a defensive background, and what he seems to do better than anything else is motivate. Mike Tomlin is a great motivator, a motivator of men, and the Steelers in spots like this have been absolutely golden since Tomlin has been the coach. Their last 9 games following a loss, the Steelers are 9-0 against the number. They're a great home team to back as well, 9-3 against the number in their last 12 home games. You know, the Eagles, and watching them last week against the Giants, and I was backing the Eagles last week. They ended up barely covering. You know, I had them -1. They ended up winning that game by 2. Philadelphia's 3 wins this season, by the way, have come by a combined 4 points, that 2-point victory and 2 one-point victories. But in watching Philadelphia, I couldn't help but feel like they're an unreliable team. They felt very unreliable, the type of team that could beat anybody, could lose to anybody. And Pittsburgh in a spot like this, and I know maybe I'm going based off of what I've seen out of the Steelers in years past, last year and the year before, the reputation the Pittsburgh Steelers have, because if you're just going off of this season, a home win over the Jets and 2 losses to the Broncos and the Raiders, you might not think they're very reliable this season. But still, I feel like in a spot like this, backs up against the wall, at home, coming off a loss with a bye week to prepare, getting healthier, the Steelers feel very reliable to me. This feels like reliable versus unreliable. I think the fact that the Steelers have struggled this year, 1-2, and the Eagles have won 3 out of the first 4 games is what's making the line nice and reasonable in this game. Pittsburgh only having to lay 3.5 points. So I do look for Pittsburgh to cover here. Not entirely sure I'm going to make them one of my bets. We'll decide in a couple of days, but I am leaning towards doing just that. I do like Pittsburgh at home, -3.5 this weekend against Philadelphia Eagles.